Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Connie.
Okay, so we introduced ourselves.
Oh, we did?
Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering how we were going to work that in, so.
And we might cut it right back out. Who knows?
Who knows?
Okay, so
No, what are we talking about today, John?
we are talking about a particular kind of stinking thinking
Ooh, I
called
always love that term.
fundamental attribution error. A big,
Oh,
big
man.
fancy term for something that gets in the way of us making good decisions.
Oh, I have a lot of those.
Okay, so we all want to make the best decisions we can, right?
Well,
And,
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we don't just like go out and, I think I'm going to do something stupid today.
It's not Stupid Friday, but okay.
Bait car aside, okay.
Right.
But sometimes we just don't see that we're biased. We don't know it.
Mm-mm.
And biased is, it's a term that gets used a lot of different ways.
Yes.
Okay.
So what's your terminology?
We're not talking about a social bias here. We're talking about the literal bias, meaning it's leaning one way stronger than another.
Okay.
And maybe we conscious and maybe we're not.
Okay.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for watching. And so it's not crazy or stupid. It's just this, unconscious, in this case, an unconscious bias.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is, like I said, it's a cognitive bias, and it leads to errors in judgment. And this one is about how we look at other people's behavior. Okay, so we see somebody do something, and we make it we make a decision or a label about, well, how come they did that?
Right.
Why did they do that?
Yeah.
Psychological research gets done, and they use big words, and so they got to be precise and sound smart. And so we've got this fundamental attribution error. So fundamental just means like at the base, right? At the bottom. We're fundamentally. Attribution is our labeling, our blaming, they did that because. Okay. Attribution.
Okay.
And then the two areas that we are leaning one way or the other towards is whether the person themselves is some character flaw or something in them is the reason, and that's dispositional. Okay, their disposition, right? You got a sunny disposition, or that's how we use the word commonly, right?
Oh, that's true.
Versus situational. Now that doesn't need any explaining, right?
So where does behavior come in here?
Well, it's a behavior either way. It's what influenced their behavior. For example, you had somebody cut you off in traffic the other day.
Right.
Okay.
Well, he went over 5 lanes of traffic. Okay, in Tampa.
like almost perpendicular to the traffic.
Exactly. He was on one side, and he wanted to get all the way.
And how many people slammed on their brakes?
Oh, 4 lanes.
Okay, so you had an impression of what that person was like at that moment.
I'm sure that a lot of us had.
Yeah, right. And so the most this bias. If you had this bias, you decided that there was something wrong with that person.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Versus, oh my God, maybe he realized he was so beside himself in worry about a family member he was trying to get to that he got in the wrong lane, and the idea of being 5 minutes late by having to go turn around just freaked him out, and so he reacted. Okay,
true. True. I guess I could have been more understanding.
In that moment, you didn't start thinking about, well, what could have caused him to do that, right?
Oh, no.
He's a
dumbass.
Okay, so that's the bias. That's the fundamental attribution error in action. And it's overemphasizing the influence of people's personality traits versus something in their external situation. Okay? So how come we do that?
Well, it's lazy.
Right.
To a large extent.
Exactly.
It is lazy.
That's my opinion. It's easier.
Sure.
Okay, and part of it is we're hardwired to, by evolution, to try to go on autopilot whenever we can and not think, use as little brain power as possible, because it uses a lot of our energy.
A lot of shit.
And when food's in scarce supply, we need to conserve our energy. Okay, so we do a lot of things on autopilot.
Okay.
And there's a guy named Daniel Kahneman that got a Nobel Prize, and he wrote a book called Thinking Fast and Slow, and he really did a lot of research in this area.
Okay.
And so we're not getting into that.
I was going to say.
Okay, so we can see the person, right? We see what they did, and we trust what we see, and we just whatever we saw in that moment, that's what caused it, right? And rather than thinking about something external that we didn't see or can't see. So we don't know if he had a fight with his wife or if his kid's in the hospital or whatever, that's we have to slow ourselves down to factor that kind of stuff in.
Right.
Okay. So
how do we stay aware of that?
Great question. Great question. We
have
have
an
to
answer?
we have to get curious.
Okay.
Well, you skipped ahead of me.
Oh, I know. I tend to do that.
I got a plan here, but
sorry.
So there's another fundamental. There's another cognitive bias that's like, kissing cousins with this one, and it's called actor-observer bias, and it just adds another part. So when we're the observer, that's when we use this fundamental attribution error.
Okay.
And good thing my hands aren't showing. Well, maybe they are. I've got some notes here.
That's right.
So when we're the observer, we tend to look at other people and say, oh, well, it's because of the way they are. They did that because of the way they are internally, that permanent, kind of a permanent thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, about them. When we do something, and exactly, not my fault. It's my shoes are too tight. The strings on the tennis racket are too loose. That guy pulled in front of me in traffic. Whatever. Right. I mean, we blame all these situational things. We don't say I'm fundamentally flawed as a person.
True. but we call other people out on that.
Right. So that's that actor-observer bias. We're biased in favor of ourselves. We give ourselves a break and against other people. Just if we have this bias. Now, if we stop and think a minute, and that's usually with an emotional reaction too, right? If we stop and think a minute, well, maybe they, maybe something, maybe they deserve a break,
right? And he didn't really cause an accident. He thought about it or think about it.
Yeah. So how can we use this in our work, in our business? Right. All right. So
that's what we're trying to do.
Let's say you're the boss. Well, we're here to help small businesses and remove their frustration.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
And this is the frustration.
Guy, boss, somebody comes into work late. Mm-hmm. Okay. Boss has been maybe covering for him, and says, sees him come into work. He's a little peeved. Mm-hmm. Right.
Right.
So does he use this bias? Does he decide that person was late because there's something fundamentally wrong with them? They're lazy. They don't care.
It's up to their alarm.
Whatever.
They didn't have enough gas in their car.
Well, that could be okay. Yeah, that's poor planning. I mean, you can go a couple of different ways. But in that moment, does that person, that boss, do we ask some questions, or do we just decide they're lazy? And that would be. You
hope that you would ask the questions.
Yeah.
But sometimes we don't stop long enough to do that.
Right. So that's a way we could apply this in our business, is to try to build it into our culture to always give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Like, so when you ask a solution, one way would be when we are tempted to judge somebody or call somebody out. Think about if that person was somebody that I really loved, somebody in my, right in my, family, inner circle, whatever, best friend. How would I handle it? How would I talk to them?
Yeah, I'd probably go. Yeah.
Right? It would give you a little bit of pause.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
And then another thing that we can do is, before we act, is just notice. If we're feeling that emotion coming up, notice and ask ourselves, what am I feeling right now?
Okay.
Just that asking the question makes it changes things. It changes things in our brain, and we'll talk about this another time, but we don't ever feel just one thing at one time. So it's going to be a mixture of things.
Men do that too?
Yes, men do that too. So those are, that's a technique, just stopping for a second, taking that little pause and asking, okay, what am I feeling?
Breath thing is tough.
And if, and then maybe if I act on that, what are the consequences? Is there a better way?
Right.
And so that's two cognitive biases. We're going to talk a bunch about in the coming days and weeks about mental models and how we can use those effectively.
Okay.
If you'd like to download a little guide we put together, it's called Family Harmony Guide. I'm going to put a link in the comments here, and we'll hope to see you another time.
We're going to be doing this more often,
yes,
correct?
We are. Yes, we are.
All right.
At least once a week.
Somebody gets their act together. Bye.
Bye-bye.